What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Tactical Foul. My name is Tigo. That friend of mine to my left, your guys is right. I don't know, somewhere. He's there. We're here to talk Euros. It is the final. We haven't seen you guys in 2 rounds. There's so much to talk about.
Yes.
But before we get to that,
Yes.
Kevin, how are you doing, my friend?
I am, bro. I'm ready for these finals. I cannot believe that I got it right with Spain here. I am surprised because I remember in that first episode I told you that it was just by heart that I had Spain up there. And I saw them. I was impressed by some of their games in the early before the Euros. So I did pick them because I liked the way that they played, but I knew that they didn't have the squad to compete versus. I didn't think that they would have a squad to compete versus Germany, France, England, and so I wasn't super confident about my pick to have them in the final. It was a lot by heart, but I knew that they were going to play good and they were going to be competitive, and they proved me right in a way because, man, to be in the final and to have I think you said this comment a little earlier when we spoke. They did the gauntlet. They got the rings, man. They went through the opponents, the toughest opponents we could have seen in these Euros. I mean, what do you think, man? I remember
let's not waste any time. Let's not waste any time here. Let's go
get right
in because you just started it, right?
Spain.
And we have to talk about Spain. And I think, because you were about to ask me, my question with Spain was before the tournament and continues to be, is Spain the real deal? And here's the thing. I don't have an answer. One of the things that you and I, we've talked about in the past was Arsenal, right? And we talk about Arsenal, we talk about all this stuff. And one of the things that I kept bringing up when we were talking about Arsenal is I don't know what it is, but I'm not convinced. I don't think that they're doing anything that convinces me that they're going to win anything. And when I look at this Spain team, the only win that I look at and I go, this was a hard-fought victory. Well done. And even that is the France win. Because, I think you and I can agree, if we look at the bracket for Spain and, what they went through and all of the things that they did, I think we're both going to agree that they played probably the best competition of the whole tournament in terms of, ranked teams, the quality of teams, all of those things, right? Because they played a really fun Georgia. They had to go through Germany. They had to go through France. And now they're going to have to play England. So they are totally battle-tested. But, my question continues to come back to, I didn't think Georgia was ever going to really push them. I feel like they got lucky to win the Germany game. And the reason I say lucky is because Germany got robbed of a penalty.
The handball
that was clearly a handball, right? And the reason I'm going to say got lucky is not because I don't think Spain is a good team. That is not what I'm trying to say. But it is, if Germany scores that with how dangerous that they were playing in that back half of the game, we don't know how that ends. If that's a penalty and there's another if there's another half an hour of football to play, I don't know if Spain wins that. You know what I mean? And the same thing with the France game, where it was just it almost seemed like for a good chunk of that game, France was just in the driver's seat until they weren't. And so I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. But I'm not going to say that England is better because I don't think that. But I don't think Spain is better either. I just don't know who's going to win this. I don't feel and I think this is the fair take, I don't feel like either team has convinced me that they should win this trophy. Whoever wins the trophy at the end, I'm going to be disappointed.
So Yes, I do agree there that both teams haven't been at all convincing to the core. I do agree that that was a very controversial part of the match was that handball against Germany,
Hmm.
and that would have changed the whole game, honestly. And so,
Just like Yamal's goal changed the whole game for the France game. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yamal scores that goal, that France game is turned on its head. France got punched in the jaw and they were still
yeah,
dazed. And then
yeah.
Olmo does that magic. And that's
Yeah,
the only
the
word
the
for it.
France game I think was possibly Spain's best game, even better than the Germany one. Even though Germany was a much bigger monster to conquer, because I mean we're
I
talking
agree.
about a team that was much better than France, and they were at home, but they conquered it controversially. So we can't look at that game and be like, oh well, Spain were convincing against Germany. Here's what I will say, because you brought up what you had said about Arsenal in the past. The difference there is Arsenal couldn't overcome those big teams where Spain could. And I'm gonna bring that
Fair.
France
Very
game.
fair.
I'm gonna bring that France game to like a factor or like an evidence to support my point.
No, that's a
Because
great point.
even though yes, the Germany game was controversial, they were also level with Germany at like most of the game. It was back and forth, and though that handball would have changed the match, I agree 100%. They also, it was level. It wasn't like Germany was dominating them. Maybe at points, we saw Spain come up front and then we saw Germany come up front, but it was still a very back and forth game. Now, yes, they won it controversially. Then they went to go and prove themselves against France that played very well defensively in the beginning. And then the thing about France is they scored that goal and something happened where Yamal inspired that victory. That good goal he scored, that in the face goal he scored was it inspired the rest of the victory. It set up Olmo's goal because we saw almost score, almost have magic. We saw almost magic literally
No,
right
it
after
was.
that goal.
It
And
was
so
magic.
and so where Arsenal couldn't prove themselves in the Champions League, Spain did in this Euro. So that's where I'm going to just kind of contradict your point there, because I do get it. I mean, Spain haven't been the most convincing, but I will say this. They've been much more convincing to me than England. England, and look,
Let's not get there
we,
yet.
we talk
Let's not
about,
get to the
okay, yeah,
England part of it.
we'll talk about England in a
Because
second.
I want
But
to stick on this Spain thing,
mhm,
right?
yeah,
And the reason I want to stick to the Spain thing, and I don't want to go to England as of yet,
yeah,
is I do think that you're absolutely. I think you make a good point with the whole Arsenal wasn't able to overcome the big teams. Spain has. I just, dude, I can't put my finger on it. I can't. I don't know what it is, but it's just like when I look at this Spanish team, I don't.
I think I can say
I don't
what you feel
see
like
it
is
like
missing. I feel
what
like
is it?
what I feel, and this is just what I'm me getting in your head, knowing how you think
No, yeah, tell me,
in
tell me, tell
soccer
me.
terms.
I'll tell you if it's right or
You
wrong.
need you're looking. Here's the thing about England that I feel like convinces you a little over Spain, and we're gonna get into England in a second, but you don't see in
The X Factor.
Spain the X factor, the
Yeah.
Jude, the guy. And that's what I feel like is your missing piece in Spain. Like, even though they play well together collectively, there's not the guy that will change the
Who's going
game
to
for them.
single-handedly go win
And
them
so
the
that's
game?
what I feel like
Yeah.
for you is
Yep.
the disconnect with Spain. Even though you because you have said they played well, they they did things to prove themselves, but they're missing that X factor. And then that's when we'll get into England, because I feel like they do have that X factor over Spain. But
again, they've faced
yeah,
teams that have that X factor and have overcome. Again, the X factor, the guy who's going to single-handedly go win you a game, that's a part of the game. That's a
okay, but
part of.
let's think about this. And
But
you know what? I'm gonna
but that's
side
not
with
the
you.
whole game.
But I'm gonna
That's not
side
the
with you
whole
on.
game.
But I'm gonna side with you on this. Yes, they overcame teams with X factors. But let's talk about France for a second. Mbappe was not the player that we know he could be in this Euro. And I'll give you the fact that he broke his nose and maybe he's playing a little,
Yeah, he was playing
cautious
scared to make
rather than
challenges.
playing, rather than playing like we know Mbappe can play, which is aggressive and
Yeah, with reckless
going.
abandon.
He's an aggressive player, and he goes in and he does those runs and he overcomes. Yeah, he seemed a little hesitant, and it might have been because he broke his nose. I still have a theory about him just being off, but whatever. That might just be me and the fact that he's a Madrid player, right? Anyway, but the teams that did have that X factor, the one team where we talked about, which is France, which is that was the one that they proved themselves. They had the X factor, but that X factor wasn't performing.
But again, Kylian with his broken nose, if he can't play his aggressive style, that's his X factor. Is how
right, which is exactly what I'm saying.
So
exactly what I'm saying. So France
edge.
technically didn't have an X factor in that game. I mean, Kylian's Kylian, but he's not Kylian without that game, without that dog in him, and that he didn't have that dog in him.
He's not scared of the hand flying in his face or something.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm not trying to take away anything from the Spain victories. That is not what I'm trying to do. But it might be the X factor thing. It might be the fact that there isn't a player that I consider on that Spanish team as him. And here's the thing, and we'll talk about this later on. I think they've got a lot of guys that can become the guy, and that's really exciting for Spain. But dude, I think Spain's best player has been Cucurella. It's Cucurella or it's Nico Williams, and it's just
almost performed. Yamal has performed.
Yeah,
but no, they're not X factors. They're not X factors by any means because they're young.
You know what? I think Olmo has.
I think Olmo could be. I think Olmo could be an X factor, in my opinion.
I don't know. I think it's too late in his career for him to. 27, 28. You're going to develop an X factor now.
27, 28? I mean, is he 27, 28? I'm pretty sure he's still young, man. I don't know. I got to disagree with you there. I got to disagree.
27.
Let me see this because I'm actually
curious. He is 26.
26 years old.
He turns 27. He
turns. I feel like he's in a. No, he just turned 26 in May.
Did he?
May.
Oh yeah. Either way, look, I'm not trying to crap on Olmo.
No, I'm not saying you are.
I have receipts. of me saying that Olmo should have started.
No. 100%. You have praised Olmo, and he's going to be one of the players we're going to talk about later on because I do feel like he deserves to be in a better team because he's a good player. I feel like
a better spot.
He deserves a team where he can really prove himself. And I feel like, especially after this Euro, we will see that because man, that goal he scored was magic. I feel like if he had more regular games in top teams like that, he'd be able to prove himself better. And so
the assists that in the opportunities that he's creating centrally,
you know what,
running up and down,
and it's kind of he was a revelation. It was kind of a good. And I don't want to say this as a Barcelona fan. It hurts to say this, but if I was a Spain fan, I would be very confident in saying this. It's kind of a good thing that Pedri got injured for Spain.
Yes,
because now we see Olmo kind of coming in and proving himself. And you know what? I was totally against that when you talked about it because when you said it's a good thing, I was like, bro, what are you talking about? That's not a good thing because I love Pedri, but I feel like
Pedri's good.
But I feel
don't get it twisted.
But listen, and this is where I know that Olmo may not be an X factor, but he might be against England, just like he was against France, because he was the difference maker for France. Now, do you want to dive into England or do you want to keep talking about Spain?
I think the answer to this question is Spain the real deal. I don't think we're going to get an answer because
no. I think that they are. Because to me, the X factor is Olmo right now.
Totally fine. But I think it's because of their opponent. And let's dive into this whole England thing, but we're going to ask the question, is Spain the real deal? I'm going to answer that question with a question, and that question, is it too late for boring England? Because England, I think, as of recently, have played phenomenally better than what we saw at the beginning. And England historically has always been a team that has ramped up in tournaments. They start off slow and they get hot towards the end. And that has not worked for them. So I'm going to pose this question to you because you're the one who called them boring England.
I have a lot to say. I'm going to tell you right now, I will rant about England.
Is it too late for the Three Lions now that they have found their form, now that they have found the formation that it seems like they're going to move forward in?
The thing is
it too little, too late?
Listen, I get what we're talking. I get that, like, they performed better against Netherlands. And I want to sit here and say, you know what? England have it because they have that, what you're talking about. The X factor is Jude. It is. And Jude is the X factor for them. He has been the difference maker for them in many games. I'm not convinced. I'm not even convinced by the victory. I feel like it was a very, yes, England performed better, but even then, they look at their squad and look at Netherlands' squad. Netherlands went toe-to-toe. If it wouldn't have been for that penalty, it would have been a tied game to me. In my opinion, England did well, but that's it. That's it. They did well. Did they do great? Did they overcome a super good opponent? I don't see it. I don't see it. I just don't. I want to be convinced by England because they have a stellar squad. They have, and you said this before to me, player by player, England wins. Player by player,
except for Rodri Rice.
Except for Rodri, except for the DM. But listen, man, here's what baffles me. Here's what baffles me is you telling me that you see Spain like Arsenal and you don't see England like Arsenal. Because listen, man, the squad that they have, maybe they're not like Arsenal. Maybe I don't even know how to describe them. But with the squad that they have, they should do better, and they just don't. Even in that game, they did well enough to win against Netherlands, who Netherlands is good, and they had a great tournament. I'm not going to take anything away from Netherlands. They could have probably even beat France, right? But listen, they weren't that convincing, man. They weren't that convincing to me. I can't look at that game and genuinely tell you, oh my God, they played so much better. I'm wowed. I'm not. If it wouldn't have been that penalty, it would have been a tied game. And that
you want to know what they remind me of?
And listen, that penalty was controversial. Okay, we'll talk about it in a second. But what were you going to say?
They are not as good as the team that I'm about to list. But you know what I think how you're looking at England? Remember when we were talking about Real Madrid during the RB Leipzig game?
Yeah.
That's how I look at this England team. They're not winning convincingly. No.
Like Madrid,
they're not winning convincingly.
Like Madrid in that game.
In that series of games. They don't play like Madrid. I don't think they're as good as that team. They're not managed as well as that team. No. But they've won 2 games that had to go to penalties. England. Madrid had to take Man City to penalties. And there's a controversial call that goes in their favor. Real Madrid versus Bayern Munich. And they're coming up against a team that looks hot, is winning their games convincingly, seemingly beating better opponents. I am not going to sit here and say that England are going to win. That's not what I'm going to say.
You can't say it with your chest. That's what it is.
No, I can't. No, I can't.
You can't say it with your chest.
But what I saw from this England team against the Netherlands convinces me that this game is going to be better than I think anybody anticipated that it was going to be. Because you said it yourself when we were talking. If England make the final, it's going to be a boring final. I don't think that's the case anymore. If England come in and they play the same formation that they've played the last 2 games, the same set of players, the same tactical style, I think we're in for a really good game.
We're going to
and that's all that I care about.
Do you know why, though? Because every team that England has played, except for maybe the Netherlands, and even then, the team was okay with letting them have the ball. And England are boring with the ball. England hold on to the ball just to hold on to the ball. And Spain's not going to do that. They're going to force them to come out, but also England's going to force Spain to come out. There's going to be a lot of open spaces in the game, and it's definitely going to be a lot more interesting than the other games. That's the reason I told you, if it were to have been a France-England final, I wouldn't even have really wanted to watch that, man. It's too boring. Like
no,
France wasn't that convincing. I just don't think that would have been a good game. I really don't.
France, again, I think France changed the way that they played against Spain. If we got the France that played against Spain and the England that played against the Netherlands in the final, would have been a great game. Because again, those teams are fundamentally different than how they were playing at the beginning. But why are we talking about France? We need to talk about England here. Here's my thing. I'm not going to say that England is going to win this game. That is not what I'm going to say.
I know you're
at all. And I'm not going to say that Spain are going to win this game because I'm not convinced by Spain. But if I had to give an edge, I'm going to give it to the edge. I'm going to give the edge to the team that has the X factors on it. And England has two of them. They have two game changers on their team.
But I don't know, man. I feel like you're gravely mistaken there. And I get it. I get that the X factor is important. And I mean, Madrid proved it this season because collectively, I can't say Madrid played well. They didn't. But they had the X factor, which was Jude, and it was Vinny.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is England only have one guy. They don't have
they have two.
Guy.
They have
two.
You're
going to tell me who you're going to tell me?
Harry Kane like that?
Bro,
you're going to disrespect Harry Kane is the best striker in the world.
Hold on. You said it yourself that Harry Kane is cursed forever. He's never going to win.
Totally.
He's never going to win, bro.
No, I can't say that they're going to win.
He's never gone to a final. Wait, how many finals has he
was
gone
on the
and
England
lost?
team in the last final. Oh, yeah. He's never won a final.
And lost. He's never won a final, bro. Look, and I'm not taking anything away.
I'm sorry, but
I'm not taking anything away
his X factorness because he hasn't won a trophy. He is still the best striker in the world.
He's the best striker in the world, no doubt.
That's an X factor. That matters.
Has he really been? But listen, has he been an X factor for this tournament? Has he? How many goals does he even have? None. He hasn't been an X factor.
No, I think
he hasn't been an X factor where Jude has. Jude has been a bigger X factor than Harry Kane in this tournament.
Totally.
He's the X factor for England. He's their only X factor, and they collectively play extremely bad. I'm sorry for your own fans to walk out on you when you literally haven't lost a match. Your own fans to walk out of the stadium when you literally haven't lost a match just says everything about how they play collectively. They don't play good, whereas Spain
didn't play good. They didn't play good.
Bro,
that's the thing. You're holding
no. We can't look at one game.
It's two games. It's not one game. It's two games. The Switzerland game and the Netherlands game. Those England teams played much better, much fun.
But wait. Switzerland, that's what we're going to be. That's what we're going to be comparing.
No, I'm not talking about the level of the opponent. Because they played down to their opponent in the beginning of the tournament. It was boring. It sucked. That England team, the group stage England team, doesn't deserve to be here at this point. That's totally true.
None of them deserve to
be
there.
But they changed the way that they played.
That's the thing,
and I don't think you're giving them credit for that.
When their fans walked out on them, it wasn't even in the groups. It was in the Slovakia game.
Yes, because they
walked out on them when they haven't even lost a match, and they were already in the final, and they were winning, and the fans were so outraged by the way that they played that they walked out on their own team, bro. There's a video right there where a guy's like, oh, they're playing like bollocks, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, literally. They walked out because they didn't think they were going to win. They thought it was going to go to pens. That's why they walked out. They didn't want to sit for it. That game... Just to make sure that there isn't a loss in translation here, Kevin. Wait. Just to make sure that there is Slovakia like a synonym for Switzerland or Netherlands? No, right? They're not the same.
Right. There was a point where you texted me and you said, England really about to get knocked out by Slovakia. You really said that.
Why are we? But okay, did I mention the Slovakia game as one of the good games for them? No, that was them still playing boring football and a bad brand of football. They
Switzerland.
changed the way that they played against the Switzerland game. That was the first time that they came into this tournament playing a back three. They were learning this new style, and this new style is much better for them. That's the point. I'm not trying to sit here and say that England
Is
are this
it though? They
phenomenal
won. They
team.
didn't even beat Switzerland. They beat them on penalties.
It
They
took
drew
them
the
to
game.
penalty. It was their first game playing a 3-4-3.
And against Switzerland. And I'm not taking nothing away from Switzerland, but they are no Germany and they are no France.
That's not the point, dude. That's not the point. The point isn't, and let's be clear, Spain barely beat Germany, and then I'll give them that they beat France. But England straight up just beat the Netherlands. So I'm going to give that as a wash because the Netherlands and France right now are in that same kind of tier of player. The moment Kylian broke his nose, they lost their X factor. I wouldn't say that the Netherlands really has an X factor. Like Virgil van Dijk as a center back is an X factor totally, but I'm talking about like a goal scoring X factor. Like Cody I get Gakpo it. You're a Spain fan.
You were talking about great. Cody Gakpo being a difference for them.
He was, and so was Xavi Simons. I'm not going to sit here and say that Cody Gakpo. Like, you know who else was great for their country? Freaking, what's his name? Mikodatsa for Georgia. Is he an X factor though? Like you can be great for your team. The point isn't that I think England are going to win or that I think Spain is going to win or anything like that. I think that you are downplaying the level at which England is playing because of a couple of reasons. Because one, you want to be right with your prediction. You want to get Spain to win. No. Totally get that. Two, you're like very clearly a Spanish fan going into this like whole thing. And there's more reason to hate England than there is to like them, especially as a Barcelona fan.
Listen, every game, and yes, I have a love for England, and there are times where I'll tell you like, well, I just don't want England, and I don't. But I want to look at this team and say, hey, like they played well, but they just. Like the Netherlands
saying that they didn't play well the last two games is objectively false.
Bro,
they were creating chances. They were creating. They had possession for a good amount of time. Like they were dangerous and they were doing things.
In my opinion, they look lost in possession. In my opinion,
well, yeah, every game. That's how Southgate teams look, lost in possession.
It
just looks different than what you're used to watching the 4-3-3 that Spain has been playing the last 90 years.
No, man. I want to look at this unbiasedly because I don't want to.
But you can't because you're looking at it again. It's a team playing against your team.
Look, bro, against Switzerland, they didn't even have. They had 1% more. They had 51% possession. You call that possession?
I didn't say that.
You said they had possession.
I didn't.
They had 13 attempts. They had 13 attempts to Switzerland's 12. That was a level game. That is not a game that they played better and they swept Switzerland. No, they didn't.
Shots are not chances created, my guy. You can create a dangerous chance that doesn't end in a, like I'm not trying to sit here and say that they're going to win the thing. That's not the point. But for you to come in and say that they didn't play well, that is an objective falsehood.
Let's look at the chances created. If we, let's look at I see here runs into attacking third, runs into key play area. Everything is exactly level with Switzerland, dude. Like it was a level game against we look at player by player. And
against a weaker opponent playing a new formation and new tactics super late into the tournament. Are you going to discount that fact? Are you going to discount that they were playing a back four the entire tournament and then they come in and they start playing a back three? That's a massive change. That is a huge fundamental ideological change on how you're doing it. Kobbie Mainoo gets no minutes all tournament long and then has to come in against Switzerland as a 19-year-old and has to play big minutes. Like, dude, Foden, who was playing as a right winger or left winger or was playing on the wing and wants to play as a 10, so he was forcing Jude out to the wing. The whole team
Listen,
fundamentally changed down to its core. That's the point.
The one game that I will give you, and this one, the stats line up with what you're saying more, is the Netherlands game.
And that's the point.
One game.
And
but
it was
that's
a
one
good
game. That's
yes,
the one game.
I understand.
You think that's going to be the difference for them?
That's why the question is it too little too late?
It is. It is.
I don't think it is, because I think that the players on England, and I'm not going to sit here and say that England are going to win. I don't think that. Harry Kane is still cursed. In a perfect world, neither team wins. I don't feel like either one has convinced me that they're good enough to win this trophy. But somebody has to win. That being said, you only need one game. It's one game. It's not two legs. It's one game. That's the whole point. It's one game. And while I totally think that Spain collectively as a unit probably play better.
Probably. They do. They do play better. Let's be real here.
England
have an X factor that Spain don't have, but collectively Spain play better. They do. It's not
they played better this tournament.
They play better.
I don't think better is the right word. It's different. They play with possession and they play high attacking football. They play a more entertaining brand.
Okay,
England has been boring.
Let me ask you this question. What would constitute playing better for you? What constitutes playing better?
There is no it is an eye test.
So there's no one team that's going to play better. You don't think
No, that's not what I said.
Play better than Barcelona
quantify
right
better. You can't quantify better. That's the point, is that quantifying better down to stats. You're going to have to explain
quantifying better.
What does better mean to you? Is it possession? Because we've seen teams win without possession.
More chances created and shots? Because we've seen teams win without those things. Okay, and that's what I'm asking you. That's what I'm asking you.
I can't quantify it. I can't put it. This is what better means. Better is the eye test. It's the same thing. It goes back to the Arsenal point. I couldn't tell you why I didn't believe in Arsenal. I didn't. I couldn't. There wasn't a stat. There wasn't a thing. There wasn't.
At first, you couldn't, and then I sent you a video on why Arsenal aren't that team, because they play off set pieces, and then you said that's what it is.
I can't. But what I'm saying is like right now I can't quantify better for you. Spain have played the style that Spain likes to play. Southgate is a boring manager. He should be in prison for the style of football that he plays.
Given the players that he has.
But boring doesn't mean bad. The only team that Real Madrid lost to last season was Atletico Madrid. I hate Diego Simeone more than most people in this world because of how he plays football with the team that he has and the players that he has. But you know what? It works. I'm not going to sit here and crap all over it. And another example, when Real Madrid played Manchester City, bro, I hated that game because it was the second leg, because it was boring to watch as a Real Madrid fan. But do I care? No, they won the game, and they're going to say, oh, the better team lost. I was like, if they were better, they should have won. That is why I hate it when people use the word, oh, the better team lost, or oh, no. If they were the better team, they would have won. If they were the better team, they would have figured out a way to win, because that's what the better teams do, and they couldn't. And penalties, totally lucky. If you win in a penalty shootout, neither team played better. Both teams deserve to lose, in my opinion. But because I hate the penalty shootout. But that's my whole thing. It's like, I'm not going to sit here and say that I think Spain played better. I think Spain played the style that Spain likes to play. I think England played the style that England likes to play. And it's been giving them trouble because they haven't been able to close out games. So they changed. And that's the point.
I get that you look at it as styles, but man, I don't know, man. I'm very statistic driven. And looking at
statistics statistics are an outline, but they're not the color. They're not the
I get it. But to me, it defines a lot about how a team plays and like what it gives me evidence. It gives me a sort of an evidence. And I know it's not going to always be, because like objectively we could talk about a team that played that had way better stats than another team and lost.
Manchester City
I
versus
get
Real
it, but
Madrid.
like
Atletico Madrid
right,
versus Real Madrid.
100%, 100%. That's a game, and I get that. Like, there's upsets in sports. I mean, that's just a
Germany
factor,
versus
and I get it.
Spain. Germany
get it.
played better than Spain. Spain walked away with the
No,
win.
they were
according
pretty
to
close.
you.
They were pretty close. They were pretty close. Germany played. Germany statistically were a little bit better than Spain, but just by one goal. It was like a one goal difference kind of.
Germany had a better possession, not by much, but had better possession, better expected goals, better total shots, better big chances. Like, again, this is why I don't like stats as the end all be all. Germany is winning. Germany is winning in almost every single offensive stat. Almost every single offensive stat they are winning. The only offensive stat that they are not winning in that game against Spain is shots on target, because Spain had 6 to Germany's 5, and shots from outside of the box because Spain took 12 shots from outside of the box versus Germany's 9. But Germany also took 14 shots inside of the box to Spain's 6. So again, this story that you're saying, like with the stats, that's a story.
Right. I know it's not
going to
paint. I know it's not going to paint.
And that's why stats are nice, but that's why I don't like to quantify better. Because that's why I hate that word, like, oh, which team is better? I don't know. That's why we play the game. Because if England come out and win that game, it's not going to really surprise me. If Spain come out and win that game, it's not going to really surprise me, because these teams can beat each other. That's the point. That's why I'm so excited about this final, because going in as someone who doesn't care about who wins,
okay,
I can just enjoy the football.
So let's look. Okay, because I get that we're in a disconnect there about the stats, because it's true what you're saying. But let's look at this game in a tactical sense. Mm-hmm. Tactically, what does England bring to the table? How do you think they could play against Spain where you see them winning?
I think
they play a really good 3-4-3. They play a really good 3-4-3. I think we look at I'm looking at like their last from like the way they played against Netherlands, right? I think with Mainu and Rice, Mainu has been very impressive in this tournament. I feel like he's worth talking about. Mainu and Rice are a very good double pivot there that I think I like. And I know you say
they're not even playing as a double pivot.
They kind of are.
No, they're playing both as 8s. That's the thing I like about it. They're both flying up the field because they're playing a back 3. They don't need to have another pivot.
Right.
Like it's
no one of but they trade off. One of them goes up, one of them stays down.
Of course,
one of them stays down. And so I like Rice and Mainu. But looking at Spain, to me, I mean, tell me how you think England will win, and I'll tell you how I think Spain could win.
I think tactically, England are in a position where they're going to do 2 things that I think are going to be very pivotal to trying to stop this England, to stop the Spain team. Is I think that they're going to flood the midfield, because they're going to have 5 players in that midfield compared to Spain's 3, right? And I think that matters. And then I think the other thing that really matters is that they have 2 10s. And so Rodri can't cover both of them. And so what you're doing is you're having to ask a fullback in Carvajal or Cucurella to come in to cover one of these other 10s, which is going to open up the flanks for Kieran Trippier and Bukayo Saka. So, like, again, what England, I think, is very clearly going to try to do is they're going to try to stress the midfield out of possession. They're going to try to stress the midfield so that the ball has to go out wide to the wings, which goes in favor of Spain, because I think that their best players are out on the wings, but also England's best defenders are out on the wings in Walker and Trippier, who I think are both excellent fullbacks, and I think that they'll be able to keep up with their respective players. And I think that Spain beats them on that one-on-one. Lamine Yamal has to beat Kieran Trippier. That, to me, is the matchup that's going to win the game. If Trippier can eliminate Yamal, I don't see Spain coming through the middle because the midfield is so congested with this England formation.
Okay.
So, like, that's how I look at it. Is who's going to win the battle on the left side?
Yeah. Here's how I'm looking at both England. I feel like I feel like it's going to be a battle of like who's controlling the possession, because that's both teams are very possessive over the ball. And I feel like here I like the thing is, I want to say England. I really do, man. And I know you think I don't love England. I hate them. But you know, I want to love them because they have the team to control the ball over Spain. They really do. I mean, looking at Walker, looking at just the middle and the three in the back, Stones, Walker, Mainu, Rice, and Guehi. Those are players that can really contain the ball for you. And so I want to look at this team and say, yeah, they can do that. But they struggled against Switzerland, which is fair because Switzerland played very surprising. Switzerland were unpredictable, which that makes sense. But then, they had the game against Netherlands where they were able to contain the ball. They were able to have the ball and control the game. So I feel like it's going to be a battle between that. I do feel like you said the edge factor will be on the wings because we're talking about Yamal. I don't think Trippier will be able to contain Yamal. But then you have Guehi.
That's fair.
You have Guehi there, but Guehi is going to have to watch Olmo.
But he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to, right? Because what you can do is you can kind of do what we saw Spain do in that France game once Spain went up. Remember, like we were talking about this in our text messages with Navas being in for the suspended Carvajal and how he was absolutely atrocious. And how did they support him? Rodri would come in as a center back, and they would rotate Nacho out to that right side so that there would be a double team against Kylian every single time. Because Navas couldn't keep up with Kylian. Nacho can't keep up with Kylian, but the both of them could contain Kylian. And now, so
Bellingham,
I'm not going to sit here and say that that's the right answer, because if you do that, well, now Olmo is one-on-one with Rice. And Morata is one-on-one with Stones. And Nico is one-on-one with Walker. And while I believe that those matchups are all really good for the teams respectively, that still leaves Ferran Torres on
something has to happen
on Mainu. Like something's going to break. If you have to double team Nico.
Spain definitely has to look out for where Nico's going to play, because they got to find a way for Walker to not. I think they're going to do that with Cucurella, and I think I spoke to you about this earlier, where Cucurella is going to kind of drag Walker out so Nico can come in, and then it could be a 2-versus-1 with Stones and Morata just kind of coming at Stones, because you got to drag Walker out.
If Walker Walker doesn't go with
Cucurella. But that's the thing. You wait for, because we just talked about earlier, either Rice or Mainu are going to come up. One of them's going to stay back. So, you wait for Mainu to come up. There's an open space. Cucurella comes up, drags Walker out. Then Nico cuts in, and then you have a 2-versus-1 with Stones there.
Not necessarily.
And now Declan Rice is going to have to come. Declan Rice is going to come up from the other side.
You're ignoring Bukayo Saka. Remember, he's not playing as a winger. He's playing as a wingback.
Yeah, but Bukayo Saka doesn't defend. He defends okay.
I'm not saying that he's a good defender, but it's not a 2-on-1 against Stones. It's still 1-on-1.
But then that would mean. But then that would mean that
Saka would take Cucurella out.
For Saka to come back, England are going to have to give up some sort of possession. They are.
Oh.
Yeah, again, they have to give up possession.
I want you to go back and watch the Netherlands game, because Saka is young and athletic enough to do it. That's what he was doing, is he was following Gakpo down the wing or inverting centrally to cover Xavi Simons, who was playing, or Reinders, who was playing centrally, so that Walker could take Gakpo. There are ways to make it happen. Look, again, we're talking about these are going to be the decisions, the X's and O's that are going to decide it. Because if you're right, let's say Mainu pushes up in the attack and Saka's on the byline, and the goalkeeper gets it and throws the ball, and now Mainu and Saka are out of position, and now you've got Cucurella and Nico Williams running at Kyle Walker by himself.
But don't forget that it's not just going to be Cucurella up there. We're talking about Fabian Ruiz too, who's going to come up and he's going to come in.
That would be covered by Declan Rice.
Saka's going to have to come and cover Fabian Ruiz, and then Cucurella's going to have to drag Walker out, and now you get that 2 versus 1 with and it's going to have to be Declan who drags himself from the side that he's on to try to.
Does Kobe Mainu not exist?
Like I said, you wait for Kobe Mainu to come up because he's
okay. But if Kobe Mainu comes up, and Fabian Ruiz isn't following Kobe Mainu, now you're talking about exposing England on one side, but ignoring that if you run into that situation, you're going to be exposed on the other side of Spain.
England, let me tell you why I feel like England are weak. I feel like that factor of having either one of them come up or come down is going to work against them in this game because of this. Spain doesn't have that. You know what Spain does?
One of those guys has to follow them.
No. But this is where Spain hits the overloads because Rodri stays back, and then the right back, the left and right backs are come up. Rodri plays as that third center back, and then Spain create overloads, which I. But
what you've just described, okay, let's say the front 5 for England go. Trippier goes up, Saka goes up, Foden goes up, Bellingham goes up, Kane goes up, right? There's your 5 players. You got your 2 fullbacks, your 2 center backs, and then Rodri as the DM. There are your 5 players. That still leaves Kobe Mainu and Declan Rice. This is the point that I'm making with your tactical conversation. If Kobe Mainu comes up to be a part of the attack, one of Olmo or Torres needs to follow Mainu, which would then put him out of position. So it's not just Mainu running back. It would be Mainu running back step for step with Torres or Olmo. Because if Rice stays back to cover the other center midfielder who didn't drop in defense, that's the point. It's not as easy, and of course not, that's why we play the games, as you're saying. If Mainu goes up and one of Torres or Olmo doesn't follow him, now you're talking about a potent attack for England, because now England will have a 6-on-5. Spain can't concede 6-on-5 to this England team because they're dangerous as individuals. So one of those players will need to drop back. That's the point.
Here's where Spain do it a little differently. Because Spain they don't have both of their left backs come up, both of their fullbacks come up at once. They have one, and then the other one stays back, which is going to be Carvajal. So it's not going to be a 6-on-5. It's going to be again a 6-on-6, and they're going to be able.
I included the fullbacks. It's not 6-on-6. I included the fullbacks. If you 4 plus Rodri, that's 5. If you do the back 4 plus Rodri, that's 5. And if Mainu comes up, one of the midfielders
if they don't follow. But where England's struggle is to even score their chances. So as soon as they do that and they miss their chance, guess who's coming on the counter? And guess who's gonna fucking do it is Spain, because they got Yamal and they got Nico Williams, who are fast as hell, coming up on the counters.
Walker and Trippier aren't slow. Walker is still the fastest fullback in the world. At his age,
Trippier's slow.
Okay, that's fine. But like Declan Rice is still there. Kobe Mainu is 19. He has no excuses to not have the energy. Like, again, I told you this. The game is going to be won Yamal versus Trippier. That's the game. That's the matchup. That's going to decide the game.
Like
that is the X factor.
Olmo Rice too. Olmo Rice.
I don't think so.
Olmo Stones.
I don't think so. It'll be Olmo Rice.
Olmo did it. Olmo did it against Camavinga. Or was it Tchouaméni? He scored that goal against Tchouaméni, who was covering him, which is what probably England are going to do against Spain. They're going to have either one of those DMs cover Olmo, which is going to be, I think, Rice at that point.
Totally. But what I'm saying is that's a fair matchup. The matchups aren't, the disparity in the matchup is going to be, can Kieran Trippier cover Yamal? That's the question. Because Rice can cover Olmo. I'm not saying that Olmo's out of the game. Of course not. But Rice
I wouldn't
can
say
cover
Rice
Olmo.
I don't know.
Dude, see, this is why having this conversation is frustrating with you, because it's just like Rice isn't better than Tchouaméni. And Tchouaméni was able to cover Olmo. And Olmo...
No, he wasn't, bro. That's why they scored.
Yes, he was. Olmo scored on Magic. Magic, my guy.
And you don't think he's going to have Magic? Bro, he's going to have Magic.
Olmo's not the player that just pulls out Magic every play. He's not Vinny. Vinny does Magic on a consistent basis. Messi did Magic on a consistent... They're not in that level. That is not Olmo. Olmo is not Xavi. He is not Iniesta. Bro, you didn't even want him starting over Pedri. Don't come talking positively about Olmo now. You didn't even want him over Pedri. You were complaining that Pedri getting hurt was a detriment to, and I was saying that it was going to be better. I like Olmo better than you do.
It's okay because he proved me wrong.
Yes, he did. But you're not. I'm not going to sit here and let
you prove me wrong. I wouldn't have said it. At first, he didn't.
The whole point. The matchup is really, really good. The only one that it's not is Trippier versus Yamal. That is going to be the deciding factor of the game. And the fact that Carvajal is in for Navas, because Navas, why are you bringing a 38-year-old to the Euros? That's besides the point. Guys, let us know what you think.
You know what? Wait.
Go ahead.
How the hell did Pedro Porro not make it over Navas?
Bro,
is Pedro Porro injured?
But De La Fuentes, no, he's not. But De La Fuentes is a good man.
I am surprised. I gotta say, I am surprised.
38-year-old instead of Pedro Porro.
I am very surprised that he brought in Navas over Pedro Porro. I'm very surprised there. That was a very bold decision. I don't know what he saw in Navas. Navas isn't that great. Anyways, let's get into.
Let's go to the quick fire topics.
Yes.
There's a lot of good ones here. Let's go quick. I guess I want to bring up my first one. Just because I think CR7 is obviously done with Portugal. He's leaving Portugal, and I think he's leaving Portugal in really, really good hands. The team that he came into was a team that had never won a trophy in their entire legacy, in their history, and like ever. And he got them 2 trophies. And like this Portugal team is going to be a threat. Like even if he doesn't go to the World Cup, we're going to have to look at this Portugal team as one of the best teams at that World Cup. And I think I just wanted to give CR7 his flowers at the end of his career. Obviously, like I love the fact that he played for Real Madrid and he did so many great things for us. But I do want to say that he was handed a not very good situation in Portugal when he was 19, 17, when he came onto the team, and left that country in a much, much better state than the way that he was given. And I think that just goes to show just all of the stuff that we don't get to see in the locker room, in the training room, in the weight room, all of the hard work rubbing off on all these guys and the kids growing up watching him. And so that's it. I just wanted to bring that up.
I do want to talk about that, man, because I told you, I'm a big Messi. I talk big. I talk big about Messi because, you know, I grew up watching him and I grew up as a Barcelona fan. And obviously, you know, I hated Cristiano Ronaldo at some point, but like he's gained my respect through the years, man, just because you know what I hated about Ronaldo in the past is that he was just very egotistical about himself. Like when I guess my narrative against Ronaldo was when he had that interview where he said, "Oh, I'm good looking. I'm a better player and people envy me." And when he said that, I was like, man, screw this guy. But you know, Ronaldo gained my respect when he had that whole when he was at the Ballon, or he was at the Best Gala and he was there with Messi and he's like, hey, you know, we played together over the years and we made each other better. Anyways, you know which one I'm talking about, and I think most of the viewers will know which one I'm talking about. And it really broke my heart watching him in this Euro, man. It even broke my heart watching him in that last World Cup where, you know, he walked out crying, man, because this man puts a lot of work into the team. And you know what? Yeah, he's put in a lot of work. Because of him, the team is at the level that they're at. And you know what? I'm going to say this. I don't feel like he is given that respect by these Portugal players.
No, I
Like,
think he is. You know why? I want to interrupt really
there's a
quick
lot of
because I don't want to let this.
wait, check this out. There's a lot of videos that I've seen, or a lot of things that I've seen where like a lot of players are brushing him off. There's a video where we watched where where he did that right after he did the Piers Morgan interview, where Bruno Fernandes like barely even looked at him,
Well,
and
yeah, he
like,
talked crap about his teammate.
right, I get
You
it, I
can
get
be
it.
mad at your guy. Here's why
Yeah,
I'm not going to let this. This is why I'm not going to let this narrative stand. Why I interrupted you because I wanted you to.
yeah,
When you talk positively about CR7, it makes me feel good. But the
right.
reason I'm not going to let that narrative stand is because this Euro, every opportunity that they had, this team went to Ronaldo and said, "Don't we got you? Like this is our team now. You just come along for the ride. You've made us as good as we are now. We're gonna try to do everything to make you as good as you
Right, and
were."
I'm
And
not
that's
saying
the
that
whole thing. So like,
not all the players respect him, but like I didn't feel like Bernardo Silva was very, I don't know. Anyway,
well, I don't like
either
Bernardo Silva
way,
anyway.
he left. He, man, his face just looking into that, that final game he had against France. It was something
Just took it
heartbreaking to
in.
see. It was something really heartbreaking to see, like him just lose it. But like then you have so much respect for him because he gets up and he like, goes and consults Pepe. He goes and does this thing where he's no longer like he's like okay with it. Like he's like, you
Yeah,
know
he's
what?
accepted the
I'm
fact
at
that he's old.
peace. I'm at peace with losing this game. I'm at peace with where this team's at. And I'm proud of the game that I played. I'm proud of the tournament that I had, regardless of whether, this he scored goals or didn't. He put in a lot of work for that team. And yeah, like I feel like the narrative of you saying, he left that team the way he left it,
Better
and
than he got it.
his face at the end of that game really just coincides with that, man. And yeah, it's just something beautiful to see, because I feel like even in that game, it's like a movie, man. Like watching, these players that used to be the best of the best of the best, man.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just kind of giving off the torch, to these younger players. Like we're going into a new generation, man. And we've talked about it many times, but it's
The
exciting.
game is in
It's
good
exciting.
hands,
It's
but it's
exciting, but
sad to
it's sad.
see.
It's sad.
It's
Yeah.
sad to see our goats of
Yeah,
this
man.
generation. My kids are never gonna watch a CR7 game live. You know what I mean? Like that's a thing where it's just gonna be like they're never gonna see CR7 versus Lionel Messi as El Clasico, and that's all we know. You know what I mean? We watch the two best players go against it twice a year, every year, for years. Next quick fire topic, really quick. The Netherlands again failing to win a trophy with what we're calling their golden generation. Have they wasted
Wait,
their
is
golden
this?
generation?
Hold on. Is this their golden generation, man? I've seen
This is
better
the back
Netherlands
end.
side.
No. This is the back end of their golden. This is the end of their golden generation. How
I
many
don't think
more
so.
tournaments are you going to have
Xavi
with
Simmons is real young. You
Van
still have
Dijk?
Cody Gakpo. I think Veghurst is still young. I don't think that this is the end of their golden generation, man. I wouldn't say that.
I
A lot of
just
their players are young. There's no end. I mean, if we're talking about an end of a golden generation, we'd be. I'd agree if you would have said Belgium, but
do I mean
Netherlands.
Belgium?
I think you
Do I
mean
actually mean
Belgium.
Belgium? Like
Belgium
you're
had
right. You're right.
Belgium it has the end of a golden generation, but I feel like this Netherlands team is just starting, man. I feel like there's still
You know
so
what?
much.
You're right. You're right.
There's
I
still
was
so
thinking like
much.
they wasted Van Dijk. It seems like because Van Dijk seems to be on the end of his
But
career,
then they have
and I was thinking
Delict.
that that's a golden generation. But you're right. I think I think I think
I think they
I
have
can definitely
potential.
say that Belgium have wasted their golden generation, like
Yes.
De Bruyne,
Yes.
Lukaku, Carrasco,
And this was the last
Hazard.
tournament. This was their last tournament to do it. They're done.
Yeah, yeah, they're
Belgium
done.
Belgium are going to have to start anew after this tournament.
And
And
I
I'm
think, yeah, now that
talking
you mention it, with the whole Netherlands thing, I think you're absolutely right. They
yeah.
wasted the best center back that they've ever had in Van Dyke,
Yeah, but
probably.
they still have promising center
But they
backs.
still have a really
Ake,
good team.
Ake
Gakpo,
De
Xavi
Ligt.
Simmons, yeah.
They're still
Van de
they're
Ven
still
is
I feel
coming
like they're
up.
getting started. I feel like
Yeah, you're right.
if they I don't know if they're going to continue with Ronald Koeman or not, but I feel like Ronald Koeman was bringing him towards the right direction. I feel like with the team that he had, I feel like here's what I'm going to say about Netherlands really quick because I don't want to spend too much time, but I feel like they're not X factor, but what I feel like what would have been better for them is having Frankie. I feel like they would have had a better tournament with Frankie because they were Koeman's used to playing with Frankie de Jong.
I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not the biggest Frankie guy. I think the biggest problem for them, in my opinion, is and will continue to be if they can't find someone to play centrally over Depay. I think they need to find the striker that's going to play over Memphis Depay.
I think they're going to. I think that this player Robbie. Anyway, I don't want to get too into Netherlands. I want to go into the next fire topic.
Last one.
Which mine, and this one we have to talk about. Does Jude deserve the Ballon d'Or if he does not win this final? If he and I'm gonna tell you this: if he wins this final, you got to give him.
He wins it no matter what.
You got to give it to him. I'll even say it. Shit,
so the real question is: has he done enough, regardless of the outcome of this game, to win the trophy? I think the answer is yes. And the reason I think is making the final of the Euros is a much, 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 much more difficult achievement than anything being done in the Copa. And while I love Vinny and I want Vinny to win the trophy, that's why I want to win the trophy, because then it would be a player on my favorite team who also plays for my country. Like, that is a perfect situation. It is a popularity contest. Like, let us not ignore the fact that the Ballon d'Or is a popularity contest, and the Euros are a bigger tournament.
You have FIFA the best, that's coaches and captains that vote. So
again, totally different award, but for the Ballon d'Or, I think Jude has done enough. It's a popularity contest.
I want to say
people hold up the Euros more.
I want to agree, and I think I want to agree because I don't. I just don't. I feel like
give it to Vinny. That's what I want.
I feel like Vinny was just a much. I feel like you got to give Vinny way more credit for La Liga and the Champions League than Jude. You just do. I mean,
I wouldn't say
and to look at this Euro and say, oh well, Jude did it. I mean,
that's not really what I'm saying.
I'm not saying that you're that's what you're saying. Is I'm saying like giving him credit for the Euro.
They're going to.
I know that they're. I know. No. Don't.
It doesn't matter.
Like, I know that they're going crazy. to, but to look at it and say that like they're giving him credit for trophies that he won on the back end, in my opinion. That he was a part of, but he wasn't like what Vinny was for Madrid this season. He just wasn't, dude. Like, yes, he helped, but he wasn't Vinny. He wasn't Vinny for Madrid. Vinny deserves it. And I hate Vinny, bro. I know me.
I don't disagree with you.
I hate Vinny, bro. I hate Vinny, bro. You know me more than anybody. I hate Vinny. But
look, I get it. But it's a popularity contest.
Him. I would put him over Jude any fucking day.
Well, yes, Vinny is the best left winger in the world and has been for a couple of years now.
He deserves the Ballon d'Or.
He just showed up on the scene.
He's the best. He was the best player this season.
Probably.
No, he was. All right, whatever.
No, I'm not arguing. I'm not trying to say that Jude was better. I'm just saying he probably was. I haven't looked at every player to be able to say that.
I feel like
but it doesn't matter.
I just feel like Jude's getting overhyped, and that's my issue.
I don't think it's overhyped. The hype is well-deserved. He has been absolutely phenomenal for Real Madrid at every step of the way and has been an X factor to get that team playing well and has been an X factor for England to get England playing well, has come in with 2 clutch goals. But, like, it is not a story about the best player. Because if it was a story about the best player, and we're not going to get into it, we're going to save this for the summer when we don't have things to talk about, because we're going to argue about this on the podcast. If it was an award that was objectively fair, giving it to the best player who deserves it, Messi would have 4 Ballon d'Ors. Like, that's just the reality of it. It's a popularity contest that can be bought and paid for by the media. And, like, the narrative is that Jude is the best midfielder in the world right now because he is. And the Euros are a much better competition than the Copa because it is. and the achievement of reaching the final versus getting knocked out in the quarters with Vinny in Brazil. Like, not even playing in the quarters. Vinny didn't even play because he was suspended. You know, like, that's the whole thing. They're going to talk about the fact that England made the final, win or lose, and that's why Jude is going to win it. I hope I'm wrong. I want Vinny to win it. I want the Ballon d'Or to go back to Brazil. But because I agree with you. When Real Madrid this season needed to go out and win,
It was Vinny.
Vinny was the guy who stepped up. Vinny was the guy who stepped up.
And I'm not
Guys,
saying,
let us.
I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just end it there.
Let's end it there.
Let's end it there. Let us know. Who do you think is going to win this final in the comment section below?
Please.
Who do you think is going to win the Ballon d'Or? We'll talk about this in much, much more depth once we have all of the information. And we'll probably talk about it a little bit closer to October when they start closing out the votes and pulling up all the stats. Yeah. But I'm very interested to hear your guys' opinion. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, guys. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about Copa America. We're actually going to go record that right now. So if you're excited about football in the summer, get ready. Thank you for hanging out. My name is Tigo. That is my good friend Kevin. We are the Tactical Foul Podcast. Peace. Get on out of here.